Hello everyone and welcome to Married with Comics. I'm your host Laura. Now today I am going to be breaking the sacred covenant of sisterhood and I'm going to tell you what women want. Now, not just like what women want in the entire scope of things, because that video is going to take way too long. However, we are going to talk about one aspect of what women want when it comes to comic books. That's right. The mystery will be answered very shortly. But before we talk about that, we are going to talk about our 500 subscriber giveaway. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please do. We have a lot of great content. We are growing, and it would be amazing if you all can be part of that journey and certainly support us along the way. As a thank you, we are doing a 500 subscriber giveaway. You could qualify to get a free copy of This is Nonstop Spider-Man issue number 1. This is the Ken Lashley variant, and it is remarked and signed by the artist. You want to know how to get this amazing title? Pay attention after the credits have rolled. I've got a quick little video there, or I have the information down in the description box. On to the good stuff. So all of this was spurred on because of a discussion that happened on Facebook several months ago now. A friend, fellow YouTuber, was trying to find out why he didn't have as many female viewers as he does male. So then it kind of boiled down to, what do women want? What are we looking for when it comes to a title? Why is it that you don't see more women in comic book shops? And finally, you start getting through some of these misconceptions and you get down to the crust of it all. And the problem was that the female readers and the people who were commenting on this post actually had it wrong. And I'm sorry, ladies. I love you, appreciate you. So I will give an explanation. What I'm trying to point out is that everyone had it wrong. So what they were describing when the women were like, well, what we want is we want a story that is written and drawn by a woman. We want no violence. We want no sex. We want appropriate topics. We want women that are not hypersexualized. And we want to be, entitled and strong and capable. But it needs to be appropriate, a very appropriate title. And then I read Saga. This is an Image Comics title that was released back in 2012. And this, dear friends, is one of the series that I have heard more women read, love, and enjoy than a lot of others. Why? Now, let's just boil this down for a quick second here. This title has sex, has violence, and I mean, it has not just like a little bit of like hinted sex. We see everything. We have violence, a lot of violence. We have a woman who is sexy. Alana, she's a beautiful woman. So we definitely see that. We see other beautiful women. And we have all of these moments where I remember reading it and there's one particular scene where, pardon my French, it is the equivalent of a dick and fart joke. I'm like looking at it and it's almost like a moment in Dumb and Dumber where you're just sitting there going, oh, they did not just do that. But then you also sit there and go, oh, they did not just do that. And you're dying laughing at the exact same moment. But if I showed that image, which I'm not, to you, and said, "This is a title that women love," you would think I was off my marbles. And I don't blame you. And I remember reading through this series going, wait a second, this is a title that women absolutely love. So what am I missing? And the more you read it, the more you see that that's the point of Saga, is that it doesn't have to have all the strict criterion of happily ever after and cutesy little art. It can have all these real things. Women watched weekly Game of Thrones. There are tons of female fans of that series, and it had plenty of gratuitous violence and sex. So saying that women only want appropriate topics or appropriate titles is selling women short. You know what we really want? Storyline. We want characters. We want to care about them. We want to laugh with them. We want to cry with them. And we want to scream in absolute agony and frustration when they are frustrated. And that's this story. So the story starts off with, you have Marco and you have Alana. Marco is from Wreath and Alana is from Landfall. So Landfall is definitely more technology based and Wreath is more magic based. As you can see, Alana has wings, Marco has the horns. There's a very distinct difference between these two worlds, and they have been warring for God only knows how long. They've been dire enemies, except at this point, they can't actually fight their own battles alone. So instead, they have outsourced those fights and those battles to planets all around the universe. Everyone has picked a side, and everyone has decided that these two worlds can never, ever coexist. One must be destroyed. And so you have these two kind of warring factions. And yet, these two characters meet. And Marco was a prisoner. Alana was the prison guard. And 12 hours after meeting him, she rescues him. They get married and they have a baby. The thing that everyone said could not happen between these dire enemies is they fell in love, they stayed in love, and everyone thought that children between these two different races could never exist. And their daughter Hazel is a beautiful little girl, and she's actually narrating the story. So she gives a nice, beautiful perspective on the relationship and the stories that are going on, you know, especially with her parents. And then you have all these other characters that are affected and come into the story because of the love that happened between these characters. So you do have bounty hunters that are trying to find them. You have the reporters that are trying to get the in-depth, first story, be able to interview not only the couple, but of course, take pictures of this child. Then you have the warring factions who want nothing more than to kill all three of them, get them off the planet, and pretend that this never, ever happened. And then you also have the families that are sitting there and they've lived with these prejudices for God only knows how long. So the thought that their son could fall in love with someone from Landfall is just foreign. So you have all these different kind of things that are all impacted by one love story. And that's the beautiful thing about this story, is that it can't really be pigeonholed to say it is pure sci-fi. It is pure fantasy. It is a revenge story. It is a coming of age story. It's a little bit of everything. So that's part of the reason why I've really struggled to define it. It could just be a simple story, and yet every single theme in here has a larger implication beyond the book. And I think it's another thing that women absolutely appreciate, because we understand that when you've got a daughter who has wings and horns, and she is unique, and of course as a parent you want her to feel unique and special, but instead all she feels is weird and ostracized. So how do you protect that little girl? How do you teach her how important it is to be special? And yet not be able to walk around and say, look at who I am, I have both horns and wings. She's always having to hide that identity because it puts her and her family in danger. And we've heard so many different times of people who have been forced to, whether it's protect their family, protect themselves by hiding a lot of their true selves or their true nature. When I get in here and I start looking into all the little details and the themes, so there are good characters that do evil things and evil characters that do good things. It's just like any good story should be written. When you build something like that, where suddenly if you just look at the story arc of one character, I could go on for quite a long time analyzing and explaining how brilliantly it's done and the implications to our world, as readers. But then you start looking at the story as a whole. And yes, I am boiling it down pretty severely by talking about just the three main characters. And yet, everything in this story constantly leads back to those three. Now, the other reason why I waited to do this video is because I was forewarned when you get to the current end of this series. I was told there was a cliffhanger. Oh, they were not kidding. This ends on such a note that it is appalling that they have not continued the series yet. In 2018 is when they released this last issue. And yet, they keep saying that they are going to release more. Haven't done it yet. Every single reader has been dying for the next couple issues. Just continue the run. Give us some sort of conclusion moment, because you get a relationship with these characters by the time you get to this point. And then to have happen what happens and not have the next moment happen, which is direct cause and effect. It's driving me nuts, and I've only finished this book like 2 days ago, and I'm already just like, why don't we have more? I cannot imagine waiting 3 years at this point. However, I do actually recommend getting to the cliffhanger. One, because then it means we all get to be super excited when it does come back. But the other reason is, if you decide to avoid the cliffhanger or avoid the series just because of a cliffhanger, then you're missing out on so many amazing things that happen in this series. Those moments, those things that make us think about the characters almost as though they have popped off the page. They are flawed. That's what women want. Is we don't want someone to sugarcoat it. We don't want someone to pretend that because we're women, we can't handle a tough story and we can't handle a bit of TNA. We're big girls. We can handle it. We don't mind a little bit of violence. We don't mind horror titles. What we do mind is when you give us so much fluff and no characters and nothing of substance, and then say, here's a title for women, but look, you get a happily ever after. It's the princess story you always wanted as an adult. Except not every adult wants a princess story. Some adults want something that is enjoyable and fun to read, but then also makes you think about it afterwards. And that is what women want. So, down in the comments, please let me know, have you read Saga before? Do you know any women who have read it? And have you tried getting your wife to read comic books before? And if you did, what title did you ask her to read, and did she like it? And if you are not married, do you have a girlfriend or a female friend who maybe you have tried convincing to give comic books a try? Let us know. And I will talk to you again very soon. Have a great day, everyone. I wanted to announce our first 500 subscriber giveaway. We're going to do 2 separate ones. The first one is for those who are subscribed to the channel and commenting on these videos. we are giving away a copy of not just Nonstop Spider-Man issue number 1, this is the Ken Lashley variant cover, but this cover has been remarked and signed by the artist Ken Lashley. It's absolutely gorgeous. I know this probably is not doing it any justice. Let me just say it's even more beautiful in person. So, to qualify, subscribe, like, comment, share these videos. We are definitely trying to grow. And this is our way of thanking you so much for helping us grow and giving us that amazing feedback so that way we can give you even better content in the future.